So I can put in a turn barrel and expect to pick it up quite often. And still have equity when called. And this guy donks. I have to wonder what he's doing it with. I'm not going to raise him, because he could just be doing this with some kind of... In fact, yeah, I am going to raise him. Just to see what he does. There's so many of these guys will just, like, donk and then fold. And I do have outs. But this is a horrible card for us, so I'm going to check back. And I have the ultimate bluff catcher here with ace high. But, that's okay. Didn't want to overinflate that pot. Didn't really feel like fighting for it, to be honest. He's not going to... I mean, a player as loose and stationary as this is not going to fold. This is probably at the bottom end of my calling range, but I'm still going to call it. Because I'm looking to check raise any kind of equity on the flop, but since I don't flop any equity, I can just go ahead and check fold now. This guy, not really, yeah, I'm going to fold this. I was going to fold this too. This is interesting. I don't really have the odds to call here, but with this guy involved, I'm going to call. Nice. This guy decides to go crazy. Okay, so we're third out of 241 players in this $11 deep stack tournament. I really like these deep stack tournaments just because there's so much post-flop play. They're just fun. You can do a lot of things in these tournaments that you can't do as frequently in lots of other tournaments. This guy, I'm going to flat on the button here. He's raising absurdly wide in pretty much all positions. And I'm expecting to see a c-bet from this guy on a flop like this. If he doesn't have an ace. See how often he I'm going to call and see what he does on the turn. If he shows any weakness, I'm going to stab at it. Okay. So I'm going to take a small stab at this pot. Expect to take it down a lot. This guy, I'm going to... yeah. He doesn't fold very often to 3-bets, and no sense in jeopardizing any significant portion of my dwindling stack here. I've got 22 big blinds, so I'm going to be looking for opportunities to get it in with solid equity. And ace-5 suited, especially considering this guy looks reasonably competent and aggressive, and has me covered. Plus I have some history with this guy. I don't want to push too many small edges. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get some more action fired up. We've got some tournaments ready to start shortly. Yeah, quite a few actually. So we'll soon be back up to about 10 or 12 tables. At the moment we've got 6 tables open. So it should make the action relatively easy to follow because there's only one table in each one of these 6 stacks at the moment. And I'll be able to talk through my decisions a little bit more clearly. This guy is opening on the button 100%, which is only once out of once, so I'm not going to get too frisky there. Not really very much in the way of hands on that guy. I'm deep enough with enough of these guys that I can raise this and set mine. This I am going to raise. This guy is opening 100% of small blinds so far. It's only 1 out of 1, but I'm going to flat just because ace-5 is ahead of the range that he's doing that with, and I have position. I'm going to check here just to give him a chance to bet on the turn. This guy I recognize. He's not calling very frequently at all. He's not calling opens very frequently at all. And in the big blind, he's only calling opens, 37% of the time. But when he bets and then bets again on the river like this, I feel like I can probably call. It's interesting. I want to mark this hand. Yeah, I was going to fold, but I just wanted to mark that hand for future review because I want to crab that hand and just see what sort of range he's getting to the river with, because he's just so tight looking in terms of calling opens, and I did raise in early position. For him to be calling on the button there, I feel like on a run out like that, when he barrels when he bets the turn and then barrels the river like that, I don't think my pair there is doing particularly well. This guy's really, really tight. I considered 3-betting, but I'm just going to call him because he's at 11-11. Flop 2 pair, which is nice. This guy is opening a pretty tight looking range in middle position. When this guy shoves, I'm going to get out the way. Bet here. Get called by this tight looking guy. I feel like this is almost always some kind of draw. So I don't really want to see a heart come out here. Because I feel like a guy this tight, if he had anything that he had value with, he's the sort of player that's going to want quote-unquote protection. I'm going to bet again. This is a horrible card. I'm going to check and call his shove here. I mean, obviously, he could have us beat here, but I'm going to give an opportunity to shove on the river because he seems to have a fairly high bet river percentage. What did he have? Ace queen. Yeah, I'm not convinced he would have called for his entire stack there, but maybe missed a bit of value there. It's okay. Flat again. Okay, so we're getting pretty short stacked here, but it's still okay. This guy only c-bets 33% of the time, so I can take a c-bet from him on this flop pretty seriously, even for half pot. I'm not going to get too frisky, just get out of the way. So we've got 100 players left in this $2 rebuy here, and we're first. We're third in this tournament with a couple hundred players remaining. Got lots more tournaments queued up. Ideal flop to be c-betting on, even versus two people, with a draw to the nuts. But when this card comes out, I feel like I want to slow down a little bit. Versus two people. This guy is only folding to 50% of c-bets, and he's not check raising, so I guess the c-bet here is still profitable with my ace-king. But when there's a bet and a raise behind here, there's about a pot-sized bet left. I'm going to fold. Look for a better spot. So hopefully the relatively loose kind of image that I've been starting to build up on this table over the last few orbits should pay off here, even with an under the gun raise. We'll hopefully get some action with our aces here. This guy hasn't called a single open raise yet, so I can assume that he's got something. I want to get his stack in by the river, so I'm going to make a slightly over pot size c-bet here. Slightly over half pot size c-bet here. Unfortunately we don't get any action, but that's okay. We pick up ace queen in the very next hand. Ace queen over here, ace king over here. A lot of action. So okay, so we got a raise from the big stack in the tournament here. I'm just going to shove my ace king. No sense in trying to induce, no sense in trying to encourage any kind of multi-way action here, because ace king offsuit doesn't do particularly well multi-way. I'm just happy to hopefully double through this guy or go bust. Down here, down to the last few tables, but it's okay. We need to make something happen. I mean, we've been pretty 3-bet happy here, so we can expect to get called quite often. Okay, so this guy 3-bets us. Pretty loose and wild looking, but when this guy just flat calls, like cold calls his 3-bet, I'm just going to get out the way here, because I am, yeah, actually no I'm not, I'm only out of position versus this guy and not this guy, so I'm going to just flat here and just play very cautiously post flop. Obviously this is about as good a flop as we can hope to get, but not the greatest. So this guy only c-bets 33% of the time, so I'm going to lead here, because honestly I don't feel like Jack 10 is in a huge number of these guys' ranges. Obviously ace king is, queens are, kings are. So I'm going to lead and just try and get it in. I'm going to fold the jack queen offsuit here, just because there are short stacks and because we're hoping to preserve our equity here. This guy's an unknown. He's from Kazakhstan and they tend to be quite loose passive type players. I'm not sure what this means, but I can't fold. And we win. Nice, and we pick up aces again in the very next hand, so hopefully we can find our way to the top of this leaderboard, as well as this one and this one with our aces. Seem to be running pretty pure. Started the tournament. I'm going to flat here and encourage this guy to come along. Obviously bet here, raise here, fold here, fold here, fold here. And I'm going to look to get this guy's stack. No sense messing around here.